Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to explore the most commonly used lookup functions in Excel with a few very simple examples. So we're going to start with the VLOOKUP function, and here I have a very simple dataset, and here let's get in column H the names for all these user IDs that exist here in this table. So I'm going to write here name. Let's start writing the VLOOKUP function. So the lookup value, the first argument will be cell G2, comma. The table array argument will be the cells from A2 to D25, comma. The third argument, the column index number. Since we want the names, names are in column B, so this is the second column in that range, comma. And finally, the match type, we want exact match, so we can write 0 or we can write false. And if I click enter now, it returns Angelo Dennis, which is here, so this is correct. However, at this stage, I have noticed that many people make this mistake to directly copy the formula down the rows, and this very often leads to incorrect results, simply because by default Excel uses relative references. So here on cell H2, the formula is correct for the table array argument. It's from A2 to D25. But then if I check cell H3, then this already has moved to A3 to D26. And if I take a look at the last cell here, it's even A15 to D38. And therefore, this user ID appears as not available, although it definitely exists here on the third row. So before copying the formula down, it's very important to lock this table array range. And the way to do it is simply by selecting it and clicking F4 on the keyboard. This will put the signs in front of the column indexes and the rows. And therefore, we can copy the formula down. And now if we take a look here at the last example, we will see that it already returns James Howard, and the range has not moved from A2 to D25. And if some user ID do not exist, like this gibberish here, then VLOOKUP returns NA error or not available. And if we want to change that to, let's say, instead of error to have some text, then we can use first the isError function. And this will return false now. And then we can nest this in the if function. So if there is an error here, then we can write user does not exist. And if there is not an error, then we can return whatever the VLOOKUP function returns. So now instead of not available error, we're getting user does not exist. And a lot of times you will see people simply leaving this as empty string, which I believe is actually the better approach. And another thing with VLOOKUP is that sometimes you want to return dates. So if I want to return the date of birth here, I write VLOOKUP cell G2, comma, table array, and this time I will directly lock the range here. So selecting the range and click F4, comma, the date of birth are the 4th column, comma, 0, and click enter. Excel does not directly return the date itself. It returns the number of days passed since 1st of January, year 1900. Now, if I want to change this to date, then I can use here the date. I can use the format to change its date. Another thing that I can do is simply wrap this in the text function and format this as my preferred format date. So maybe I want date, month, year. And this now appears as 24th of July, 1965. Apparently this is not a date. This is a text representation of date, so it really depends on the use case. The main problem with VLOOKUP function, however, is that it always returns values to the right of the lookup values. So if I change now to the other sheet, and my user IDs are in column B now, and if I want to get the emails, which are to the left, then I can no longer do this with VLOOKUP, and therefore we can use the XLOOKUP function, which by the way is a lot easier to write than VLOOKUP. So here we can write G2, comma, the lookup array is the range of cells from B2 to B25, and I will directly lock this range, comma, and the return array will be the range of cells from A2 to A25. Let's lock the range and click enter. And I think as a syntax, this is way easier than the VLOOKUP function, and it's a lot more flexible. And if we want to change now the not available error, then we do not need to nest this in the if error function, and we can directly use this if not found argument, and probably right here user does not exist. Or we can leave it empty. Oh yeah, the XLOOKUP function I believe is much easier to use than VLOOKUP, but the problem is that it's only available in modern Excel versions. So if you're using another Excel version, then you may not have this function. And in such case, you can do this in the old school manner using both index and match combination. So here, let's get the email. Again, the emails are to the left of the user ID, so we cannot use VLOOKUP. But what we can do is use first the match function. And as it says here, it returns the relative position of an item in an array. So we can match cell G2 in this array. And let's log the range. And the match type will be exact match. And it returns 6. That means that this user ID is on the 6th position in this array. And I believe that's the case because it's on the 7th row, but the first row is the header, so it's on the 6th position. And now if we wrap this in the index function and pass this array, comma, and let's not forget to lock it. And it's going to return the correct results. And of course, if we want to change this not available error, then we can wrap this in the if is error function. So that's going to be it for today. In the next video, we're going to make an example with using XLOOKUP in VBA. If you have any questions, then please drop them in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.